In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. The planet of Balsar 5 had fallen to an Ork war at the turn of the 41st millennium. Now, the Emperor's gaze falls once again upon the planet, wishing to bring the lost agri-world back into the fold of the Imperium. With fiery passion in their hearts, the brave men and women of the Astra Militarum make landfall on the planet to secure a foothold from which the Emperor's might can flow. Cadians and Death Corps stand side by side, supported by autocannons, Leman Russes and artillery pieces. However, their descent onto the planet hadn't gone unnoticed. Orks, now native to Balsar 5, began to swarm en masse to harass the stalwart forces of the Imperium. The Imperium formed a defensive line at the head of a valley pass, which would become known as Braxxors Moor, named after the commander of the Imperial ground forces. Will the men and women of the Astra Militarum be able to hold out against the encroaching Ork horde? Only time will tell. As always, if you do enjoy this content, please do comment, like and subscribe, as that's the best way to support the channel. Looking at the defensive setup then, we can see that there's about 21,000 Death Corps of Krieg here, supported by 20,000 Cadian Guardsmen, and on the front lines 25,000 Imperial conscripts. Bringing up the rear, we've got 150 Leman Russ tanks and 30 artillery pieces, and laying down heavy amounts of fire, 200 autocannons. But the encroaching Ork swarm is made up of 600,000 sluggers, 40,000 nobs, and 20,000 shooters. Will the Imperials be able to hold the line against such overwhelming numbers? Let's find out. Here we are then, kicking off today's slaughter. The brave men and women of the Astra Militarum stand ready to receive the Ork charge. And here we go, conscripts on the front line, their guns opening up, ready to receive the Ork slugger boys though. Oh, is anyone truly ever ready to receive an Ork slugger boy? My god, these absolute brutes here come charging into the front line, clashing right here into the poor old Imperial guards who are being torn asunder by the insane muscle mass of the greenish brutes. However, the Imperial guard lines are all opening up here, causing devastating casualties to this front Ork line here. They've already lost 20,000 in their first initial charge. However, they are just cleaving their way through these poor, ill-trained troops, quickly thrown together here to try and stem the tide of this Ork flow. However, the Orks, knobs abound here, keep charging forward, just smashing into them. The artillery pieces here, a bit detrimental to some degree. Any Orks who live through the artillery shell are getting flung into the middle of the Imperial lines and are just attacking the poor old Imperials. Oh my god, there's an absolute slaughter going on here at the front line. As we can see, the ground now, it's just become an absolute quagmire of death. The Ork forces keep pushing forward relentlessly, knobs ready with their pneumatic claws to tear apart any poor Imperial guard that happens to get in their way. The ground is sodden with blood at the moment, ladies and gentlemen. My god, them Imperial Leman Russies in the background and the autocannons burning red hot as they try to hold back this stem. But the Orks, unrelenting in their green horde mass, just keep pushing forward, regardless of the insane losses that they take. Already 114,000 of their number have been cut down where they stand. However, we can see over here on the far right-hand flank that a little force so far has started to come round and are now attacking the tanks. You can see the Ork knob here going head-to-head with the Leman Russ. His massive power claws tearing through the armor. He actually threw the tank. Oh my god. That is absolutely insane. That Ork knob there with extreme strength, just throwing the tank about. The front line, though, it is advancing for the Orks bit by bit, having now chewed their way through most of the poor conscripts here, who desperately have been trying to hold on. They've actually been doing a rather good job here. The Orks have killed about 20,000 now, pretty much all of the conscripts, as they start surging towards the men of Krieg, who stand resolute, rifles at the ready, blasting at any Ork who's unfortunate enough to get in their way. Those who get close enough receive a shovel to the face. Meanwhile, though, the Orks, undeterred by their insane losses here, are just keep surging forward. Their unrelenting green mass here, just creating an insane deluge of death. The body pile is getting truly massive over here now. Oh my god, that's a hell of a lot going on. Jesus, okay. So with the Orks now trying to push forward, they have got a bit of a flanking maneuver going on. Have they got anything over here? Yes, look at this. A few renegade Orks managed to smash through the side and have taken out a load of tanks on this side. That is devastating to the Imperial defenders. However, it looks like this attack on this side was relatively small. More of a distraction scouting force. The front line, though, ladies and gentlemen. Look at that. The surge of Orks is almost unending here. Does look like the troops are thinning out in the center just a tad, but you can see in the background there's still a lot of Orcs swarming here. 200,000 of them left as more and more now start coming down this flank here, and this is actually really devastating here for the defenders. You can see a couple of Imperial gunners here have been taken out. The poor Orcadians now receiving a full-on charge here from the Orks in the rear. Oh my god, you never want to get charged by an Orc in your rear, ladies and gentlemen. That is a painful way to go. Oh, the tanks have been devastated here. Some of the Orks now heading straight for the artillery pieces. This is going to be really deadly, actually. If them Orks manage to get to the artillery, yeah, it's pretty much over. They'll destroy them artillery pieces easily, killing the poor old gunners, manning them. However, our front line actually looks like it's abating ever so slightly. The Orks starting to lose a little bit of momentum here in the absolute slaughter that is ensuing. However, they are chewing their way through the men of Krieg bit by bit, but it is costing them. Every inch of ground here is being paid in blood and sacrifice, and it's only one that the Krieg are too willing to make. Unfortunately for the Orks, well, I don't know actually, who is it fortunate for? Orks versus Krieg, I think they're both just as hungry for bloodlust and war. In fact, I would actually go ahead and say, maybe the Krieg are on par with Orks when it comes to their thirst for war. They just want to be thrown into the most horrific situations, and they would normally actually come out on top during it. Let's have a look how's the flanking maneuver doing over here. So yeah, the artillery pieces now definitely under threat here, with the Lehman Russies trying to do something at least. But of course, Lehman Russies, they're not exactly going to be the best at taking out masses of infantry, especially these variants. They don't have the heavy bolters, unfortunately. So they're relying on their main turrets here. They have got backup here from the Death Corps and a few gunners who are turning around here to try and lay some fire into the Orks that are encroaching here. However, I will say, the stem is, the flow here is starting to stem. It's getting weaker and weaker. The front line over here has almost completely collapsed on that side. Let's have a look over here. How are we doing? Orks pushing forward relentlessly. Doesn't matter about the insane losses that they're ensuing here. But bit by bit, with the lack of firepower coming from the rear line now, which has been severely diminished, you can see they are actually making ground here on the Death Corps. How's our flanking maneuver doing over here? So this has now been almost completely cleaned out. One or two straggler Orks here running into the Krieg and finding a brutal end at the end of a shovel. It does look like the main flow of Orks now is starting to stem. I think the Imperials can sense a victory nearby soon. Yeah, look at this. There's only a straddle of Orks coming in now. Most of them then probably still coming in down from the valley. Let's go have a look over here. Yeah, look at this. They're all coming in from the valley. This narrow pathway here has stemmed their flow quite considerably, unfortunately, for the Orks. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I think the Imperium are feeling like they're now on the receiving end of the victory here. Well, with victory ringing in their ears, the Imperial Guard now have decided to go on the offensive, charging forward from their defensive positions. They're here now to clean up the remaining Orks, men of Krieg, Cadians, and Lehman Russ battle tanks charge towards where the Orks were once coming from. Now, the poor old Orks definitely feeling the fire of the Emperor's wrath, as more and more of them are cut down. We've got an insane little blood pool here. I'm sorry, we've got to do this. It's kind of my thing. Okay, little Timmy, get out your merchant ship. That is a really deep puddle of blood. Oh my god. Puddle of Blood, my favourite cover band for Puddle of Mud. Anyway, meanwhile, there's only 18,000 Orks remaining. This is pretty much the main charge here, ladies and gentlemen. If this group here is cut down, then it's pretty much GG for the Orks, I'm afraid. Their numbers are just going to be dwindling out ever so slowly. They're not going to be able to push down that pathway with any real concerted effort. And I do think that these guys are just going to get gunned down. Oh, the Ork mentality, though. They don't care that they're massively outnumbered. It just makes the fight even better. Keep charging forward. Look at this, meeting the men of Krieg on the bodies of their dead comrades. Meanwhile, massive amounts of gunfire is just coming overhead, streaking into that Ork horde and tearing them asunder. Oh my, the ground has been littered with red and green, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, absolutely fantastic. Now, what I think we'll do very quickly, because this is going to take a little while for these to trickle out of here, I think we'll just hit a quick time-lapse camera and see if the Imperials push up to this point. We'll be back in a moment. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there it is. Look at that. The men and women of the Astrum Militarum have managed to push forward and secure their foothold here. The Orks now only 100 left in number. And with this, I think the Imperials can claim their victory. Let's go have a look at the battlefield very quickly, though. You can see, look, the artillery pieces, actually, some of them still survived over there, still providing covering fire. But look at this. A macabre scene of death. Just thousands and thousands of Ork bodies litter the floor with little pools of blood. Oh my, oh my. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I do hope you had a blast. I know I did. Please do comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. A massive shout out to all our channel members who helped keep this channel going. And if you're not a channel member, why the heck not? Click the join button below. And if you're interested in Warhammer news, short stories, and some cool wallpapers, head on over to the Chaotic Pinky website. With all that being said, as always, until next time, peace.